I've had this ICOM IC-7760 sitting here for about 6 months now, and there's something I probably need to admit. Here in Australia, we have a fine cultural tradition. We like to take the piss out of people, or to use a technical term, shit-stirring. And when I started getting more serious about YouTube, I discovered one particularly effective way of doing it. Put a 50 or 60-year-old Collins or Drake rig next to a modern SDR and tell people the old one's better. I'd say something like flex radio owners like to think they've got something to flex about. Personally, I think they make for an excellent doorstop. Most of you knew exactly what I was doing and you'd give it straight back. But a few people took this way too seriously. You'd think I was preparing evidence for a Senate inquiry into the abolition of software-defined radio. So naturally, being Australian, I wound them up even more. G'day, I'm Andrew, VK4KWM, and I love having a yarn about ham radio and the wider broadcasting game. If you like these videos, subscribing is a simple way of helping this channel to grow. I'm a ham operator and a former commercial radio announcer. I research, record, and edit these videos myself, and your support really means a lot. Anyway, buying the 7760 soon put an end to all of that SDR shit-stirring, because for quite a while, all I had was the old gear, and now that I've used it long enough that the new radio excitement has worn off, I can tell you what I think. And this is where all of that shit-stirring comes back to bite me. It's really bloody good. I really like it. And this isn't my first ICOM. I've owned the IC-7800, the 756 Pro 3, a couple of 7300s and various Yaesus over the years, which has taught me at least one thing: whatever arguments we're having about SDRs, we can surely all unite around making fun of Yaesu's terrible user interface. They really need to do something about that. There, I've started more shit stirring. But after 6 months, the interesting thing about the 7760 is I really don't think about it anymore. It's just become my radio. I turn it on and use it. I'm not sitting here exploring menus because I've just spent a frightening amount of money and feel morally obliged to find out what every button does. I get on 20 meters, I find the signal, adjust the filtering, I talk to somebody. And that's probably the highest praise I can give it. The separate control head works extremely well, the ergonomics are excellent, and ICOM still has, in my opinion, the best user interface in the business. And the receiver is superb. You don't need to sit here quoting ARRL lab figures to work that out. When the band gets busy, you can make contacts. The filtering works, the noise reduction is excellent if you need it, and digital pre-distortion gives me a clean signal going into the tube amplifiers, because I don't like solid-state splatterboxes. Tubes all the way, baby. It's an extremely complicated radio underneath, but it doesn't need to constantly remind you of that. ICOM has somehow managed to build a computer with an antenna socket, without making it feel like a computer with an antenna socket. And that's important to me, because I still like radios to feel like radios. Which brings me to the slightly strange conclusion I've reached after 6 months with one of ICOM's most advanced radios. I wish they'd build another superhet. A proper, no-compromise, high-end, super heterodyne radio. And before you take a futile shot and try to put me in my place in the comments, I'm not saying that because there's anything wrong with the 7760 receiver. There isn't. It's bloody fantastic. I just reject this idea that whenever a new technology comes along, everything that preceded it suddenly becomes obsolete or rubbish. A really good analog receiver has a character of its own. The way it sounds, the way it behaves. And there's something deeply satisfying about the engineering required to make one perform well. I'd love to know what ICOM could build today if somebody in Osaka walked into the engineering department and said, "Right, forget whether it'll sell. Build the best superhet we possibly can. The 7851 Mark II, call it the 7861, or whatever they want to call it. It would probably make absolutely no commercial sense today, but I'd still want one. And that's probably the biggest thing the 7760 has taught me. Buying an SDR hasn't made me like my Collins any less. I've got radios in the shack separated by more than half a century of engineering. Sometimes I want the 7760, sometimes I want the Collins. One doesn't have to prove the other one wrong. And if you force me to answer the obvious question, would I buy the 7760 again? Yes absolutely, it's staying. Unfortunately, that does mean 6 months of mocking SDR owners has come back to bite me, although I reserve the right to continue sit-stirring. After all, I am Australian. It's practically a condition of citizenship, and if ICOM ever does build that ridiculous modern superhit I've just described, I'll probably buy that bloody thing too. I'm VK4KWM. This is Real Ham Radio.